podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday week. Well, Sheffield Wednesday finally have a new manager. We knew who it was going to be last week, but it's finally been confirmed. A lot of people have been saying the dreaded words of the season starts now, which I hate. We've got Watford coming up. That's about it. We're going to try and get an hour out of this. Don't know how we're going to do it, but I'm sure we can talk about being pissed on the weekend to fill some time. I'm joined by Stevie, Hollie and Jon for this voyage into Danny Rohl. So Stevie, you're the most excited about it. How are you feeling now the dust settled?
I feel positive. Do you know what? I think I was out the lot of us. I was the one that I think I felt happiest because of the potential that was there, and the reason that I had a load of sort of positivity around it was I was looking at it being a departure from that tried and trusted trope of going after the merry-go-round managers that have taken us so far and not necessarily got us anywhere. And we've been down wormholes with that before, with Tony Pulis in the past. We've got people that are, you know, in Gary Monk that are very similar of ilk of those sort of managers. And I just thought that it was a little bit of a left field punt. And when I heard it in the first place, in the earliest sort of, when the rumours first started flying about, it just gave me hope that, you know, we were possibly looking at somebody from a different kind of profile to the ones that we'd previously been looking at under Chansiri. And, you know, I think the reason that I was probably the most excited was I was looking at what was happening at other teams like Ipswich with Kieran McKenna, the lad who's gone in at Leicester from Man City, the job that Michael Carrick did last year. And whilst it's not an exact science and it's not a like for like sort of appointment, it's very much from that sort of cut from that sort of cloth, rather than going for the Warnock, which, by the way, was probably one of the worst shouts I've ever heard in my life. It's a departure, it's a risk, it's something that's going to be a little bit different, but it's something to be excited about. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what kind of style he's going to bring, but what we do know is what we've done is appointed a manager who is very well connected, held in very high regard. And I think I've said this privately. If you look at him on profile, what have we done this last week? We've courted and appointed a manager who's coached in the Premier League, and at the age of 34 has worked with Bayern Munich, RB Leipzig, Southampton, and the German national team. In terms of pedigree, I don't think it's going to get much better than that.
No, I think you're completely right on the terms of the pedigree side of things. I was thinking about it the other day, and I think the reason probably didn't get him in the summer is because the Euros was in Germany next year. And if you're a German and you're on the German coaching team, you probably fancy that, wouldn't you? A home tournament in the Euros, being part of that. And we've got kind of lucky, but he's lost his job at Germany and Cisco is shit. So it's kind of like all like aligned itself, really.
I think the important thing about it is it's very easy. The easiest thing to do is to go in and say, well, we talked to him in the summer, but then we went to Chisco. But the bottom line is nobody will know what happened in the summer, and nobody will know what it would have taken for him to be released from the German national team, if that's what it needed to be in terms of compensation or things like that. Yeah, you're right. There was a major tournament next summer to look forward to, but I don't think any of us know the circumstances really around, you know, what would it have taken for this guy to come in. And let's be right, if he had interviewed him in the summer and decided he was going to go with Xisco, there'll be mitigating circumstances around that are probably financial. And Chansiri probably would have, he may very well have just gone, look, stuff it, I'm going to go for a cheaper option. Maybe this appointment is a signal of intent from Dejphon Chansiri to say, look, cutting corners ain't working. I don't want us to go down. Maybe people are right after all, and we need to start building for the future, and let's start looking at what we can do for, a long-term 3 to 5 year plan under this manager.
Well, that is it. What's that saying? That you can something can take years to build and you can destroy it in a day or something. It's like a phrase. Because this was me with Chansiri. I was pro Chansiri all the way up until that statement the other week before the Sunderland game, and for me, it's proper. The morale's completely gone, drained out of me from a in the chairman.
You were the last one with any morale left.
the white flag went up.
I appreciated his millions and that sort of shit. And then after that, it was like, right, you've really fucked me off, because in the space of 3 months, you've gone from getting rid of Darren Moore, you've released 3 statements about Darren Moore, you released a statement about Xisco, you did a bloody press conference about Carlton Palmer. You said in the press conference, but you've had better CVs, which is probably Danny Rohl's, than the guy sat next to me. And I've hired him, and then he loses 8 games and draws 2. I mean, fucking hell! He's done a really good go at really hammering the fans, testing the fans' patience this season. I tell you.
I think it's like what they do with elephants, abroad when they try and beat them down so that they do whatever they say. That's what they're doing with us.
Yeah, fuck. It's like I'm completely done with the bloke at the moment. But if this is him going right, I am changing now, and because on paper it's a really sensible, forward-thinking, outside the box. I mean, what's the word, Stevie? Come on, say it. Sounds like initiative, but it's not. Yeah, that's
intuitive.
It. Yeah, appointment, isn't it? So. On paper, it all looks good, but for me, if he's not changed at the top, it's not going to work out. That's just my feeling.
But there has to come a point where, and I know the general consensus, the popular thing to do is to just go after Chansiri again and again and again and say he's never going to learn. He's been here for this long, and this keeps happening and that keeps happening. With the statements that he's made, he must have been going through some stuff, internalizing what he's saying and what he's doing. And he must understand, even though he'll not admit it, he must understand that, or believe that he's said things that are erroneous, and he's done things that are, he's probably gone away from these statements and gone, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. And it was quite impulsive. And I know people will always talk about it was lost in translation, and I don't necessarily think that that's always the case. I think it's probably an element in terms of what he's said in the past that might have led to that. And I'm not for a second defending the bloke, because I think the guy's an absolute loon at times with some of the things that he's done and said. But I do genuinely believe that he will have walked away from certain situations. For example, saying, I'm pulling the plug on putting any finance into this. And gone, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Maybe with cooler heads prevailing, I might have been able to sort of balance things out a little bit. But for me, has he now sort of gone away and gone, what is it going to be? What am I going to have to do? What's it going to take to get the fan base back on board, to get that feeling of positivity around the club? Because Blair, you're the one that says it as much as anybody else. It'd be an absolute disaster for the bloke financially if we went down. So he's got to do all he can to try and keep us in the league. And if that means that he has to find a way to sort of keep face, if you like, then he's going to have to do it.
And then Danny Rohl sounds very, very sensible for the things he says. And surely he must have said in an interview, well, I've seen the statements you've been putting out recently. He needs some reassurance. Surely he's not going to just walk into a fire pit. John, what do you think on the appointment first before going into the other shit?
Yeah, I think I said it on a recent pod. It is a very, very much a different sort of direction from Chansiri. It feels like a project manager where it's actually, in terms of Chansiri's Moxie. So it's almost like a long-term plan, isn't it? Because if you get a manager in like Danny Rohl, then I think it's got to be, even if he's looking at it as, even if we can't manage to stay up and you do one step backwards to take 2 steps forward, he might be thinking beyond, the bigger picture sort of thing. But hopefully he's going to have a bigger impact than that and keep us up, because we really can't be going back to League One. Just, as a businessman, he's going to realise he's going to lose 7 million a year in TV revenue alone, and it'd be just disaster to go back to that league. So it's a surprising appointment, but it's an intriguing one at the same time. It's like, what can this guy done? He's been around some of the best coaches in the world, like Hansi Flick, and and being with the German national side, what the side that they were. But the one thing with the Germans is, they'll always come back. They're never going to be average for too long. They've ripped the side up and rebuilt it time and time again over the years. So he's been around some world-class coaches. He's got to have picked up some good knowledge and things from that. So, and like you were saying, Blair, I don't think he's coming into, this situation not have some level of backing from Jancy, despite what he said, because how could you attract somebody like that if you're just going to say, but you've just got to work with this lot and that's all you're getting? I think that would be quite naive of Rohl to take it in that circumstance. So I think it's just one of Chancery's spats, and I don't think it's always going to be 100% followed through. So I do think he'll get some sort of backing, but maybe if it's just a couple of loans in January or whatever, maybe. So, but it's an intriguing appointment, and I can't wait to see how we set up. I can't wait to see what formations he's going to play, what players he's going to play. We've seen videos on YouTube. When's his Twitter account, X, whatever you want to call it, of Martin meeting the players, and Marvin Johnson was evidently there. You could see that. So everyone's getting a clean slate. I'm really intrigued to see how we set up on Saturday at Watford.
Well, actually, 2 things about this appointment. Firstly, it was my birthday this weekend.
If only you'd said.
But I've reached that point in my Wednesday supporting career now where the manager is actually younger than me, and this has really upset me. That's never happened before. Has that happened to you, Stevie? Is there someone in between?
No, it's never happened. It's never happened. It's not even now. I'm still younger. Really?
It's very much upset me as this. But maybe Marv's going to miss out again. He might sign himself as that last player. Sorry, Marv.
He is actually we've now got the youngest manager in the Football League, haven't we? Across all divisions. He's the youngest manager.
Well,
so that's another first.
I purposely haven't looked him up. You all keep saying he sounds good on paper, but I feel like I can't be disappointed. I've fully gone all in on this. I've got excited, but I haven't looked him up, so I'm just gonna let it take a hold and see what happens. It can't be worse. It just cannot be worse.
It can't be worse. My favourite quote.
Oh, sorry, Blair, go on.
I'm going to say my favourite quote of what he said over the weekend was he's going to get 4 German coaches in and then 1 experienced English bloke to come in, an English coach as well, on part of his staff. So everything he's saying just sounds very sensible and very German, to stereotype a bit. But
people keep saying, "Oh, we want somebody who's used to winning or whatever," and I feel like you sort of need someone who's used to losing so that they know what to do in that situation. If you bring someone in who's only ever won, and then they turn up at this shit show that we've got at the moment, where we haven't even won a game. You need someone who knows how to lift the players up and scrape them off at floor. So, yes, I mean, it was at Southampton when they were pretty shit, weren't they? So, I suppose he might bring some to the table with that regard. You just don't know.
To be fair, Hollie, if you listen the bits I've heard from Southampton, he's gone in there and they were shit before he went in, and then he's lifted him, and then he left, and then they were shit again. So if you listen to the Southampton fans, the majority of them will say that their upswing under Ralph Hasenhüttl was when he came in and did his bits, and then he struggled once Danny Rohl had left. But the thing I'm excited about is, as we've said, going back to the Chancery and the finance of it all, it doesn't. He has to have been paying him. He's got to have paid him something. He's got to have been putting out some money to attract a manager of this sort of ilk, with this sort of profile. Okay, he's relatively inexperienced.
I was going to say, he's not been a manager before.
It's a gamble on both sides, but you're going in with a profile of person that is managed at that level. And the last job that he had less than a month ago or less than 2 months ago was managing the national team. And I know that Germany have had a bit of a dip recently, but you know that will only ever be a temporary thing. He's attracted. One of his coaches has come in today, hasn't he? And this afternoon has been on the YouTube channel, on the Wednesday YouTube channel. I think his name's Sasha Lenz. He was under Ralph Rangnick at Man United. You know, he's been at Leipzig. We're attracting profile of manager and coaching staff now that have done things and have turned heads. And I think this is it. Yeah, I think as much as anything else, I think the reality probably is. I think the reality probably is that Danny Rohl's looked at it and gone, this is an opportunity for me to go in and test the water and see where I am. And he's probably as excited about the prospect as we are of him, because he can go in there and, you know, sort of carve a career for himself and carve a name for himself at a relatively low stakes sort of situation, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm completely sold on it. Don't worry, I'm not going to pick at the scab. I'm sold on it. But what does a sports psychologist that's been at Man U, is that a transferable skill to come into Wednesday, which is completely off the scale different to what it's like at Man U or Leipzig or wherever he's been? Like,
yeah, I get that. But,
what's he going to say to him?
I get that, but am I right in thinking that these are guys that were involved at ground floor level, or whatever the term is, when Leipzig were there, and then all of a sudden started going like that under Rangnick?
They built it up.
Yeah, they built it from scratch. So these are guys that have done it before. You know, these are guys that have been at clubs that haven't necessarily been established and then established. So to that end, I'm all right with it. I get the Man United thing, but if somebody said to me, right, you can have somebody who's been at Man United, or you can have somebody who's gone round that merry-go-round, Tony Pulis type, and I'm not. I know we're not talking about the manager. We're talking about people underneath. We've battered about from low-level Championship team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and then we're going to take him on. And what's the best that they can hope for is somebody potentially going from 17th in the league to 14th in the league over the course of 4 or 5 years, or we can get somebody who has that. Kieran McKenna, Michael Carrick, guy at Leicester, other people that have come in and done bits. It's a gamble. It's a huge gamble, but it's an exciting one, and it's one that I think has got legs, and I think it's one that we can potentially get behind and say, look, if this works, it's going to be blooming incredible. And if it doesn't work this season, we've got somebody with, you know, form and experience of working and coaching players out of academies, and we can build in League One if needs be. It's almost progression thinking or forward thinking in terms of what we're doing here, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Yeah, and also don't wait to sort of piggyback off that as well, Steve. It's like you mentioned before, you got your managers who could come in and, you know, like you mentioned Pulis, I know we mentioned Warnock, but those guys there's no risk factor for them to take a job and fail because they've been in the game that long. It's just a wage to them now. It's just a contract. It doesn't matter. This guy's starting out with his first job, obviously believes in himself. He's got quite a lot of there's a German news reporter that came on Radio Sheffield and says he's really excited to see what he could do at Wednesday. So he's quite highly thought of in the game. So he's taking a risk as much as us taking him on, because if he can't get us going or whatever, then it's damaging his CV. So he obviously believes that he can do that, and us taking him on, although it's a gamble, could prove to be a great starting step for him to lift us raise his own profile in the process. Young manager as well, only 33, 34 as well. So, I think it's going to be intriguing to see how it works, really. Yeah.
Chansiri must think that he's going to be good because he hasn't put him on his Darren Moore 1 month rolling contract. He's put him on a little longer one.
Good point.
So he must think someone that's going to want to nick him.
Yeah, it's a full on like 180 to what happened in the summer. It's just
Darren Moore's fuming.
I know.
I'll tell you what, though. I can honestly say.
Oh, tell me.
I can honestly say.
Tell us.
Danny Rohl has got me over Darren Moore.
Oh.
Got you over.
You got your new attractive bird.
I'm done. I've moved on.
You've won the breakup.
If we lose 3 games in a row, he'll be messaging in group. Darren Moore, come back.
You never know what you used to have. You never know. I think the last thing I'm going to say on Danny Rohl, I keep calling him Danny, but I don't even know him. So I'm on first name terms with it.
I'm going to go with Röhling from now on.
Yeah,
Röhling.
Will necklace. I don't think we're going to see a massive I don't think we're going to see like a gegenpress, a German style of football straight away. I think we're going to go proper 4-4-2 and just sensible, just to get some results under his belts and just square pegs, square holes, whatever you want to call it.
I tweeted exactly the same thing this weekend. I listened to that press conference and I loved it. Because when people were asking about what sort of style he's going to play and what formation he's going to set up with and who's going to play where and what, he literally went, I'm not going to set up with a specific formation. I'm going to play square pegs in square holes. If it's going to be I think we'll probably play a 3 at the back on Saturday because he's looked at everything that we've done this season, and he's seen, right, this is the best and most fluid that we've looked. Let's be right, under Tomo with the old guard in, it was probably as well as we played this season for over the duration of a 90-minute sort of spell. So I can very well see him saying, look, I don't want to change too much because he's made loads of noise about the fact that he's looked at every game that we've played, and that must have been torture this season. God, yeah. So I can very well see him saying, right, I'm going to stick with a 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, and we're going to get those people that we can trust that are going to play, and let's get some footing and let's get to know the players. Because even though it will have been 7-8 days by the time we next play, I know we got announced, but there'll have been rumours and so forth. For Saturday, I think he's going to be. I'll say it. He's going to be pragmatic. He's going to set up. I won't expect too much to change in terms of the personnel.
Oh no!
I'd like to think he's going to potentially, and I've never been one for clamouring for this. Potentially look at getting Cadamartri some minutes or Pooty some minutes if and when it suits. But I think the main setup is going to be right. We're going to play that tried and trusted 3 at the back. Or if it becomes a 4, it's a 4, but it's going to be people that we know and we're familiar with. We're going to get that solid midfield, and we're going to get somebody, hopefully, fingers crossed. The one thing I do hope is that we're going to have 2 up top with somebody working off either Smith or Gregory. I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see what he does with the goalkeeper. That'll be an interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, and it's welcome to the Championship. He's going to get 5 training sessions in this week. Then he's got Watford, and then he's got Plymouth, and then Rotherham in space of 8 days. So he's not going to get any more training sessions in. Then it's just recovery days after that.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's not going to be it's going to be a slow process before we actually see his style. It might be not until January before we even see anything.
Well, he went and watched Young'uns played, didn't it, the other day? So we'll have seen what Cadamartri is like and stuff, won't he?
Probably didn't have an house. Probably just thought, fuck it, I'm staying in the stadium for a bit until.
Yeah.
It's a good point about the youth though, because again the German football is big on youth as well, isn't it? I mean, look at some of the players that have come out of like Dortmund, like your Mario Götzes and that way, quite a few years back now, but lots of good youth promotion coming through the side. So I'm pretty sure that one of his backroom staff that he'll bring in will be helping out in that department, looking at the youth and reporting to Danny, and he'll be having a look. Like Hollie said, he's already watched one of the games. I think it was the under 21s derby, wasn't it? So yeah, Kadamata has got to be knocking on the door, hasn't he? He's been absolutely on fire for the under 21s again.
10 goals.
Yeah, after coming back from injury, because that injury slowed him down a bit. He came back after that, and he was a little bit naturally, you know, a bit rusty, but he's banging them in again, isn't he now? And he's at that age now. Looks like he's put a bit of size on, as does the goalkeeper, Pierce Charles. I saw him on the YouTube clip the other day. He looks like he's grown a little bit more as well. I thought it was a little bit on the short side, but not anymore. After what I've seen lately, he looks like he's a big, strong lad as well. So, and Pooty's lightning quick. If you've ever seen any footage of him, guys, he's absolutely rapid. But obviously, you want an end product as well. So that's another interesting thing. What having Danny Rohl come in is, will we see a bit more emphasis on you? Will they get a bit more? Will we see a few more of them on the bench? Will we see him make a debut? Yeah, it's interesting times for sure.
Did anyone see that? Oh, go on. Steve.
No, you go.
This was just relating to that match that he went to see. Did anyone see that tackle that everyone was sharing on?
Brennan.
Brennan. Oh,
now he's had a first team training today.
As he's coming in, it's like it's either going to be a really bad tackle or it's going to be the best thing ever. And it was the best thing ever. Proper Steel City Derby tackle. I loved it.
Sent off in Premier League, that. VAR have a look at it in slow motion and deem it uncontrolled.
I thought it was excellent.
Oh, I did. I loved it. Well, he had him in first team training today, so it just shows. But he impressed him. He's always been good, Donny Brennan. Every time he's played, really, I've never really been calling for his head.
Yeah,
he's not been amazing. He's always been solid.
He didn't blow me away from what I saw pre-season, if I'm honest with you. I don't agree, and I haven't agreed with much on.
Let's just write the pre-season off. Right.
Well, listen, I didn't agree with much that that Chisco did over the summer, but I wasn't upset at not seeing Brennan. Fair dues. He's got a clean slate and a level playing field now. It will have been an absolute renaissance if that guy gets back in the first team setup. And I think, am I right in thinking that he's too old? I'll stand corrected. Is he too old to be classed as a youth player now? Which means that we'd have to. I think he's about 23, 24. I'll stand corrected. I think we'd have to register him to be involved before January, which means that Marv wouldn't play.
Oh, Marv! No.
Marvin Johnson.
I might be wrong, but I think that's the case.
What if the new guy? What if Danny Rohl ain't having him? Then what? Then what do we do?
Well, he's got him back in training, so he can only show what he can do. You'll have to see what he can do.
It would be quite funny if he didn't gonna get him.
Well, after all kicking off that we did,
all the martyring and stuff, making him turn him into a martyr and stuff, and then new guy comes and goes, actually, he's shit.
Free Marv.
Yeah, free him, released from his contract.
Yeah, he'll get one game and it'll be absolutely crap, and everyone will be like, "Get him off!"
I never wanted him back in the first place.
Players are always better when they're not playing, aren't they? If you think they should be playing and they're not, then all of a sudden they become better than what you remember, don't they? So, yeah. But we'll have to see with that one.
I mean, the admin made a massive point of showing him, didn't today?
Yeah, and his little smug smile.
Yeah. Just happy to be back at work, lads. Just happy to be back at work.
Little glint come out.
It's been horrible being paid thousands of pounds every week to go on holiday. It's been absolutely terrible. My heart's bled for him. Right, we've done 28 minutes on Danny Rohl leaving Watford. We're not going to get half an hour at Watford. I'm saying you now. Hope he sees what's worth any other business to pad us out. So Watford, we've got Watford. We can talk a bit about Plymouth, but we are going to talk about them more next week. But so Stevie, Watford. Would you be happy with a 0-0, or do you think we need the new manager 3 points bounce as a must?
I think it's a much more attractive and hopeful proposition going to Watford based on their sort of inconsistencies with a new manager in and the manager having 7 days, and the upswing in performance when we played against Huddersfield. I'm more optimistic now than I was maybe 10 days ago, as daft as that sounds. I think there's a real opportunity for us to go down there and get something out of the game. I think I'd be happy with a point. I would, and I think it's a good opportunity based on new guy coming in. But I think one of the most important things coming out of this weekend is that we see something a little bit different. We see some sort of dynamism within the team. He's come out and he's made noises in press conferences about us playing on the front foot, about going forwards, about playing freely without any sort of fear. I want to see that Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. It won't be wholesale change. I've said that. It won't be a massive departure from what we've had previously. I've said that. But if we've got a little bit more optimism in terms of taking the brakes off a little bit and, taking more shots on goal and playing more dynamically. Yeah. And getting to a point where we're playing on the front foot a little bit, what will be, will be. I'm looking forward to it. I'm taking Molly.
Oh, you going?
Yeah. Lastminute.com. I've managed to scrimp and scratch and sort myself a ticket out. So I'm taking Molly down to. We're getting on the train, all being well, on Saturday. We're going to pitch up in a hotel for the night, and then we're going to go and see Chelsea women on Sunday.
Oh, nice one.
You do take Molly to some glamorous places.
She gets everything she deserves.
So I've just checked the table, and Watford are actually a bit worse than I thought they were. I mean, they're still obviously 7 points.
Not shit as us.
But yeah, I thought they were a bit higher than that.
It's a really big week, really, with Watford, Plymouth, Rotherham. Like, you would say they're winnable games, but we're absolute cack at the moment. So, I mean, any other team would think they're winnable games.
Yeah, I think Plymouth will be one of them ones that'll be a bit like salt in the wounds because we've been promoted with them, and I feel like they're going to show us up for being worse than them. So I'm not looking forward to that one. And to be fair, if Watford are rubbish, it's my 2nd or 3rd birthday of the year on Saturday, so I'm not going. And if I've watched all that crap all season and then they win when I'm not there, I'm going to be really upset. So what's that about?
Not what it's all about.
If they could save it when I'm there, that'd be good.
It's surprising to see Watford down there, but I guess all the chopping and changing over the years is going to catch up with you eventually. Watford, they have like a manager every year, don't they? They sold, was it João Pedro? I think they sold him as well. He was like the main man, wasn't he? So it's just quite surprising to see him down there. But as far as us going down there, I think we're just going to, like you said, we're not going to see a lot of changes. Just play your best players in the best positions. I think that's what I expect Rohl to do, and try and just build off that, what Tomo did, in keeping a solid foundation and trying to come away with something. And obviously, we've had issues scoring, but I agree. I would be okay with, actually be quite happy with a point at Watford, and then try and target the Rotherham game for your first win, which is always, a little bit tricky with being a local rival, and they have tended to have a decent record at Hillsborough, but they do tend to do well, don't they, at Hillsborough? But I think that's the game you're looking to target for your first win, hopefully. And once we get that first win, there'll be a lot of pressure off. And I don't know, Windass and Bannon's still not going to be available for Watford. Are they still injured? I think they were.
Nothing really been coming out.
They were a little bit cagey, weren't there? Reports on it. In fairness, it were like, if they both were selected on Saturday, I don't think anyone would be shocked. But if they are still genuinely injured, we'll have to wait and see. But getting those two back could help, wouldn't it? Especially Windass, because he's probably the best goal threat we've got, isn't he? From him and Bannon, maybe from set.
Yeah, I think Windass down the middle will be how it happens by the end of the season. I think
they must have been injured, otherwise Tomo would have played him, I think, last week.
Yeah, I'm just wondering timescales for being back. Especially with the international break up, that they might come back in time for Watford, or certainly for Rotherham. But they'll be key key players to come back for us, won't they? And that'll help us in the quest for the first win, which we desperately need, don't we? But yeah, I think we'll keep it pretty basic. Yeah, and stick with the formation that you've had success with. So I agree, going back to the three at the back. Go back to the three at the back. Like, we were solid with that, weren't we, in League One, all the way to promotion. So, and Deshaun Bernard's been playing well, I thought, as well. I think he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet for Saturday as well. I don't know what you guys think.
Long flight home though from Jamaica. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what their schedule's like. Is he playing again midweek? I don't know.
No, he played last night. They played on Friday night. I think it was either Friday or Saturday night, and then they played again last night. They've won 3-2 against Haiti. They've gone 14 games. I think it is. It is in joking aside. It is at that level. They've gone. You know, they're undefeated in 14 in the CONCACAF. You know, and he played the first game. He played with Hector. He got another 90 last night. I think Hector was on the bench. I don't know. I think I would hearing what I've heard of the new manager. It wouldn't surprise me if he's had a look at how Jamaica have played and said, "Look, let's see how this guy is and let's manage him." I think he's going to go out and he's going to play the best team that he possibly can. If that means that, you know, we bring Bannon back in, which I believe Bannon may be closer than Windass, I'll stand corrected, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Bannon in there on Saturday. I think you'll see all of them down there. I think everybody will be in and around it. It was interesting to see today in that YouTube clip that they've released. It was only about 45 seconds, but he's gone round and he's high-fived, shook hands, etc. with every single player as they've walked in. And then they've made a point of going into a performance room, haven't they, with a projector on the wall. And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen, but we don't see that side of Sheffield Wednesday behind the scenes, do we? Where he's got a presentation that he's gone up, that he's put up, which is very Pep, Man City, company at Burnley.
Bielsa did it famously, didn't he?
Yeah, you know, those sorts of things where he's going to get in, and his first address to the team has been, right, this is what our philosophy is. And you'll forgive me, I can't remember what the title was on that first slide, but it was about a mentality and a psychological thing about winning, performance, and momentum. And I think a lot of the stuff that they're going to do is going to tap into that. He's younger than the people that we've seen previously. As we've said previously tonight, he's going to be keen to make an impression. And I think with that ilk of coach / manager, there's a definite sort of shift from, and the right, let's give people a bollocking and let's get people up for going in there all hell for leather, blood and guts, to it's very much a thinking person's game nowadays. And I think he's going to be keen to prove that that's how he sets up in terms of his philosophy and the way that he wants to organise things. He wants to get out this team thinking. And you can insert your own joke there when you name some of the players that we're going to be talking about. But I'm genuinely excited. I'm genuinely looking forward to the changes and the tweaks that he can. You've got to be at this stage. You've got to be, because we can talk about what differences we're going to make in terms of formations and what we can do. And the reality is the only tweaks that we can possibly make are bringing in Kadamatri, Pooty, and Gassama. He's not registered. Marvin Johnson, he can come in. If not Marvin Johnson, somebody else. But it's going to be Marv. But anything else that we change cosmetically in terms of the playing team that we've got now as it stands on the 16th of October, it's going to be 2.5, 3 months before we can change anything, before he can change anything in terms of what he wants to do, because we're stuck with the squad that we've got. So it's got to be those fine little tweaks. And that will come with working with, dare I say it, your Ashley Fletchers, your Jeff Hendricks, your Diabys, those sort of players that we've not been sold on. I'm interested to see what he does with those players. And it'd be interesting to see if any of those loan players go back in January to create a little bit more space within the squad, because we haven't got players signed on short-term loans, have we? I don't believe. Everybody that we've got is signed for the season. So if we want to make big tweaks in January, somebody's got to go.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's actually I'm looking forward to actually seeing what it's going to be like.
Well,
Oh,
go on.
Go on, Hal. No, go
They
on.
asked him about because some of our players are older than him. I don't really listen to manager interviews. Darren Moore, I loved him, but when I listen to his interviews, I feel like
It was
would put him
painful.
off of him. It were trying to just say things that sounded better than they actually were, and I didn't like it. So I didn't listen, and I just loved him for what he is. I definitely didn't listen to him.
a bit like me on this podcast.
A bit like all of us on this podcast, yes. But I've seen a couple of Röhling's interviews, and they asked him about players that are older than him, and he mentioned, I mean, the German teams. I know you've mentioned that they're younger, but there's a lot of them that are very much older. And he mentioned he's already worked with loads of players that are older than him, so he speaks really confidently about player relationships rather than it being like you said, Stevie. It's not just an old guy yelling in your face, shouting at you and telling you to be blood and guts. It's a different type of manager. So it is interesting. We'll see.
It's when he dropped those names, and it's like the two players Manuel Neuer and Lewandowski.
Oh,
and I'm looking at it thinking, he's traded them to him for Cameron Dawson and Michael Smith.
Lee Gregory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
that is a guy who backs himself. That is a guy who backs. I don't think our squad's that shit. It's not as bad as we've seen it.
Isn't it?
I tell you what, if you can get
Steve
scoring, I'll make a believer out of all
took over Watford, Forest. I'm not saying this will happen. I'm just saying how long time we've got left in the season. Steve Cooper took over bottom of the table, Nottingham Forest, on the 21st of September, and they managed to get 6th place because there's that much football left to play in the season.
Yeah, so, and last time we had a manager that said put square pegs in square holes and blah blah blah. We're Dave Jones, and we got promoted, so I'm on board with it.
Well, that's it. That's Mike Jones is coming back.
Mike Jones, bloody hell! Of all the players,
I know. Well, because Megson signed him that summer, never played him, did he? And Dave Jones put him on wing straight away. Remember it vividly, mate. Remember it vividly. Right, that's 42 minutes. I can't get any more out of this. Have you got any other business?
We've lost a COO today.
Oh yeah,
this week recently.
Steve, you're mates with you.
I am not mates with him. Never had a conversation with him, to be fair. But I think it would be remiss of us not to mention Liam Dooley moving on. Obviously, Ash is part of the engagement panel and has had dealings with him much more closely than any of the rest of us have. And you know what Ash is like. He can be a grumpy so-and-so at times, but has nothing but positive things to say about the bloke. Really nice guy, was a Wednesday at heart. You know, this was something that he, I won't say fell into, but has managed to get himself into a position where he's worked at a relatively high level at the club that he's supported, and you know, as for everything that I've heard, had a lot of very progressive and forward-thinking ideas in terms of how to structure the club going forwards and how to make a difference in terms of the things that we needed to do off the field. And I do think it would be, we have to acknowledge that. Trying to say this without saying it, he's worked at times with one hand tied behind his back to an extent from what we've been told, and I think it will be a hole. You know, it'll be a loss, and I know some people might disagree with that, but you know, we're losing a bloke that's was very forward thinking in terms of the things that he wanted to do, and I understand that there might have been times where he might have been met with a little bit of resistance off the field. And took things as far as he could without taking it as far as he wanted to. And I just genuinely believe that, based on the things that I've heard and seen, and the comments and feedback that have come out, that you know, it's our loss is going to be Shrewsbury's gain.
Yeah, I think we've certainly into the Chancery area, we've seen probably the biggest turnover of staff that you'll see in it during an own, to be honest. And some of them have come and gone, haven't they, and not made much of an impression. Then others kind of are able to drown out the chaos and function and do a good job. And you mentioned Dooley, and the guy before I thought was pretty similar in doing that role. When we had Paul Aldridge, he could kind of like keep things going along when all the madness was flying around and that. So yeah, it's I think we probably lost a good one there, but we'll have to see who his eventual replacement would be. And yeah, should work out well for Shrewsbury. He got some good experience with us and probably can bring some good ideas to them and help them kick on.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know anything about what. The only things I know about what happens behind the scenes is what I learned when I watched Dream Team. That is not that is not the same. I don't know anything about this stuff. People get sacked and I'm like, oh, I don't know what they did. I just think that 11 blokes turn up and they play some mediocre football, so I don't know about any of that stuff.
Right, well, my any other business is I've just had a quick check on Transfermarkt, and we have at least 16 players out of contract next summer. So that's going to be very interesting, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it depends what happens.
we could have a very big overhaul of the squad.
It's if you think about it, it's actually not bad business because we've got the team up last year.
Yeah,
we've got at best we can consolidate. At worst, we are. If we go down, it's an entire squad overhaul. It's an entire squad overhaul. But it's going to be necessary because the players who realistically at the team that we've got now, there's not a player. That's not fair. There's maybe 3 players that I'd look at and go, right, I would be upset if you left.
There's
a lot of changes coming soon because Palmer's getting old, Bannon's getting old, Gregory's getting old, Smith's getting old. Johnson's,
Marv.
32. It's going to be a very different squad this time next year. Anyway, we're talking crap now, just to fill time.
I just think focus on first transfer window. Get to January and see where we are. End of season will take care of itself. But by the time we get there, we'll have a good understanding of what's going to happen.
Anyway, we're getting 9 points out of the next 3 games. Danny Rohl is going to be on the roll.
Have we got a prediction?
Oh, yeah, 7-0 Wednesday. Just phenomenal. Who is this mastermind? Wonder Kid. No, 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm positive. Stephen.
1-1.
Yeah, I'll go with draw.
1-1. I'll take 1-0.
That's not really me being all in, is it? If I'm going 1-0, no, I'm going to go for a win.
German shirt on. Oh, 1-1 is shit.
Okay, fine. 1-0. We're not going to score more than 1, are we?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Jonathan.
I'm going to go for another 0-0. And then see what, another point, 0-0. Clean sheet. But get them back to Hillsborough and prepare for Rotherham a week on Sunday.
All this optimism and all we could muster is some 0-0.
I said 2-0.
We haven't won in 10 games, have we?
Come on! Let's go all in. Let's have a prediction for a win, guys.
Well, what was your actual prediction? It wasn't 7-0, was it?
No, 2-0. 2-0 is my normal prediction. Right, we're going now because we've rambled for a good 15 minutes at the end. Bye.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.